It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Friday afternoon. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show sometime afternoon. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and everything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Could it be the return of the Andy and Rem Show, episode 201? It certainly could be. Mr. Remington, how does it feel to be back strumming away old school style?
Oh, it feels good, Andy. It feels more than good. Feels terrific, mate.
Feels terrific on those well-worn musical fingertips.
Absolutely. It's been way too long, man. So it's great to see you. You're looking well. And I believe I've seen you smile for the first time, maybe.
Well, I don't know about that. But by my reckoning, it's been around about 8 months since the last show.
God. Did I show off to you my first place painting award from, I think it was a year ago now?
From about 16 months ago. I think you will have already shown that off on the show, yes.
I think it's fantastic, but it pales into insignificance with, look at your array of crowns, medallions, statuettes, plaques, trophies. Well done, Andy. You are becoming a legend of the game, not just on the internet, but on the table.
It is quite a collection of trophies. So I think in the last, since that time that you won that medal, actually, I've probably been to about 28 tournaments, different game systems, probably.
Oh, yeah, beauty.
So, yeah, plenty of Age of Sigmar, being in the heart of Nottingham.
You know your stuff, don't you?
Wall-to-wall tournaments.
And all with the Stormcast and variations of Stormcast.
Well, not all Stormcast. I have used the old Sons of Behemat a few times as well.
Oh, yes. Lovely. And you've got a terrific record, haven't you, Andy? Which is fantastic, because I think you're not ultra competitive either. You absolutely play by the rules, and you're very accommodating to new players, such as me, because I'm genuinely new.
I play in a very laid-back manner, but I'm also aware of the rules, and I am actively trying to win. That just doesn't come across in a hyper-competitive kind of aggression on the table.
I think you're the Iceman. You see, on the surface, it seems very cool, but underneath the surface, there is sort of a terrifying dragon lurking underneath the depths. So,
ice running through the veins, fire in the belly.
Whenever you think you've got an in against Andy with a tactic, you realise he was waiting for you to do that, and he's got a nice, rule or two, which will counter you. So that's what I found anyway.
That's the plan.
So we were supposed to have a game today. I couldn't get over to Nottingham, so we thought, let's do a show instead and review finally all the old world gossip and the new Age of Sigmar stuff. So yeah, we're obviously in competition with lots of other channels that have sprung up. How very dare they?
Well, competition would be putting it a bit strongly. I don't think they're really much of a challenge to the original crown.
The originators, the originals of the Age of Sigmar YouTube community. So maybe we can get back on the horse. Even though I've got a massive touring schedule over the next 2 months, we can find some ways of getting around this and staying on the ball.
That would be nice. And even maybe getting a game in or two. Because you have played some games since the last show. I don't think you actually told people about them because...
No. I'm getting a reputation. I'm getting a reputation in Nottingham for one of the weakest players to play against, but also one of the most fun players to play with. So that's not so bad. I mean, maybe I think some games have an awards for that kind of thing, don't they? So
well, depending which army you take, maybe the slowest player as well.
The slowest player, absolutely. I think I often take the most fun armies as well. Usually,
How many
I don't
games
take.
of Age of Sigmar have you actually finished at events? Not friendly games where you've got 6 hours.
Uh Yeah, I didn't do. I don't know. I can't remember. I think it finished. Usually finished because I get absolutely, twatted. But there was a couple that ended in draws. I think that's probably a good tactic going forward. Is to take my time as much as possible, have huge armies, and sort of play for the draw.
And
That
get
could be a
offered a draw
nice.
by a generous opponent because you've taken so long.
Yeah.
That's a
But
winning
obviously
strategy. But you have
making
said
it
it live on
fun.
the internet now, so people might be aware of it.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons for my poor outings has been that I usually like to take minimum strength unit, a bit of everything in my armies, which complicates things rather than complements lists, right? So I don't have multiple units of the same thing, or too many big monsters, or you know, maybe I should start doing that. But obviously, I'm a hobbyist at heart. I love just collecting every unit of each army I can.
Well, your
Um,
armies are kind of similar to mine on the table in that we've got a little bit of everything. Don't really spam particularly
no,
at all.
that's the word I'm looking for. Nothing against spammers. Do what you do what you do. But yeah, I mean, painting too many of the same thing as well can be a bit of a chore for me. So I like to mix it up. You've been painting furiously. I've been painting fairly furiously. Shall we show off some of our
Well,
paint jobs,
shall
Andy,
we
or do you
go
want to
and
go?
look at what we've been working on before we dive into the last 8 months of Warhammer content, of which there's going to be a lot, various other things. So let's
Sounds
start
good.
with some pictures of what you've been up to. So what's going on here? That's almost as big as the live audience we get regularly for this show. What's going on there?
Yeah, that is what I've been up to. This is obviously one of the highlights, but I'm a guitarist in quite a famous band called Fun Loving Criminals. And this is us last year in Stop the War festival in Poland. Um, so that was unbelievable. I think there was up to 100,000 people there. So um, absolutely loving that. I've also had to sort of quit my day job to be available to be on tour. So and also practice a lot more as well, although maybe you wouldn't know it from the intro. But yeah, that's what I've been up to, which gives me free time now and then to paint and game when I'm back. But I've also got a dog, and the dog is taking up a lot of my time, training him, walking him.
Am I right in
But
thinking that this is a new dog that is incredibly needy?
yeah, it's a Weimaraner, so he's getting good actually. He's downstairs, he's just chilling, but that's only because I've taken him on 2 walks today already. And it's only midday, so I try and get some painting in. After 10 p.m. if I can, in the twilight hours, witching hours.
So you've got a large, energetic dog that needs walking multiple times per day, while being an international, regularly touring rock megastar.
Yeah, it seems so. I really put it on myself, and then also trying to get through the new Cities of Sigmar special edition tome, which you know, is beautiful. Getting my way, waking my way through it. Um, yeah, and you can see all the various factions on there. I wonder if you can guess which faction, which sub faction I've chose to go with.
Well,
Maybe that's for
we'll let the
later.
audience guess on that subfaction. While, speaking of the
Yeah.
audience, we have a quick look and see who we've got in here for this unusually timed show. So obviously we've got no idea how many people are going to turn up, but we have got some of the old regular crew. We've got Colin Mack, we've got Vi Ducasse, we've got Mr. David Corley, we've got Stu Gibson, the legend himself.
Yes. Amazing.
So, 100,000 people, maybe more. Is it safe to say that this is your musical peak, success-wise now?
It could be. It could be, although you never know in music. I wouldn't have thought that I'd get this opportunity late in life, but obviously did. Never stop plugging away. Um, I don't know. What is success, Andy? For some people, it's learning a song or picking up a guitar.
Well, how about if we combine all the various things, mastery of the music you're performing, the number of people you're performing to, and the rate at which your bank account is swelling up. Have you had it better than this?
Not in potential terms, no. Like, obviously, everyone's got potential, but they might not be in the race, if you see what I mean. So I'm certainly in the race. I can certainly get better in every aspect at what I do. So as long as I can get better, I haven't reached my peak. That's a good answer, isn't it?
So you've yet to peak, is what you're saying.
Yet to peak, yeah, absolutely. I've done 75 shows with this band in 1 year, all around the world. So I'm about to do another 50 over the next 2-3 months.
Not
So
bad. And you're
yeah,
keeping yourself healthy as well?
yeah. Last year I had a big health scare. I was in hospital with blood clots from either COVID or the jab or traveling in aeroplanes or catching some chest infection or I don't know what it was, but yeah, I think I'm a lot better now. I've lost 1.5 stone in weight, which was good because I was becoming a bit of a chubby monster, probably from sitting down painting and not exercising. But now I got the dog. Yeah, absolutely.
You go
Nice
out for
balance.
regular walks, leaping around on stage with the guitar?
Colin Matt also Rem has Scooby snacks. Yeah, I suppose Scooby snacks probably don't help with the weight issue. But yeah, I think I'm over that now. And the wife has been getting me to do strength training and yoga. I went on a yoga retreat in the summer.
Is that where
I
you
think
retreat from yoga?
I think I was the only male there. There's quite a few sort of trust fund girls there, you know. Um, but it was in Portugal, and it was really great actually. Yeah, I felt really super healthy after that.
Portuguese
Oh,
yoga retreats or Warhammer tournaments? Which is better?
both. Good balance of both, I think.
Now, you have also been doing a bit of painting, it seems, as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And here, got some witch hunter looking band here with some doggos in there.
Yeah, that's Hexbane's Hunters, which can go directly into my Cities of Sigmar army. The one thing that's transformed my paintings, and if you were to zoom in, I think you'd see some decent detail in the faces at least, although the picture might not be the best quality. But one thing I got was this beauty, which maybe you can see now on the screen. It's a magnifier slash light. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that.
Yes. Because you have
And
been saying for a while that your eyes have been on the way out, detail-wise.
yeah, I've always been a bit short-sighted, but that was all right when it came to painting. But now I'm getting a bit long-sighted, and so it just gets really blurry close up. So with this magnifier, I can go into super detail now. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but I can. Yeah, I've started to appreciate things like too thin coats and using one of these what do they call it, paint mat things,
Wet palette.
wet palette. I use that now, and yeah, I can really get the details in a lot better now because it got to a point where I couldn't even see the detail on faces, so I was just guessing. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, I'm happy with my paint jobs. Absolutely, yeah.
Then, got some more of your painting here. These ones looking a little more rugged and barbarian-like, shall we say.
Yeah, I had Stu Gibson's in the chat. I think he's got an army of what they're called, marauders. What are these guys called? They're part of Chaos, aren't they? But they Dark Oath. Yeah, Dark Oath. I think I flirted with the idea of just getting a Dark Oath army, loads of like Conan savages, and this was a really nice start to that. Yeah, lots of flesh and muscles. I like that.
Can't
Yeah,
argue with that.
and different racial tones in the paintings been kind of cool.
Got
Yeah,
an ogre with a
yeah.
monkey.
That's these are all war bands, aren't they, from Underworld? So I think these are terrific. Love getting these. Yeah, that was enjoyable. It made me want to start an ogre army again. Actually, yeah.
Did you get rid of the other one?
I sold an ogre army, yeah. But with a low model count and some big monsters, so you can soon just didn't bring one back if I just had the time, man. Just had the time. So
And what is this? These look a little bit
yeah.
unwarband like.
Yeah, this is taking me bloody ages, Andy. Not just to pick a colour scheme, and this is you can see the symbol on the shields. That's given away my question already because the sub faction I've chosen is called Vindicarum, and the special rules for these sort of help you bring back models when you're doing. When they've routed, what's it called? If
Rally.
you've had a yeah, it makes it easier to rally your troops, which I think is a good idea with Cities of Sigmar because you're going to have quite a few miniatures to rally back.
Yeah, you're going to have
And
big units and they are going to get killed easily.
yeah, and plus, I think it does a nice, yeah, I think it sort of favours flagellants. So I've got a bunch of flagellants. So I thought, well, this could be a nice synergy. So I've gone with a sort of that colour scheme, I guess. So yeah, very challenging to paint, actually. So much detail on these babies.
That's the current GWA, though, isn't it? Cram as much detail in as you can. Now,
Yeah.
it's been a while since we've looked at any of my stuff because it's been
Yeah.
8 months since the last show. So let's see what I've painted in that time. So we have got another angle on this. This is a giant carrying a portal with a kind of tentacle demon monster emerging from it, playing a flute.
Wow, that is horrifying. I mean, straight away, Andy, my models look sort of dark and a bit more grimy. Yours look like they're skipping the light fantastic of colour.
That is true. So this is for my Kings of War Night Stalker army and for my Sons of Behemoth army, because this one has a magnetised base. So the bit of earth attached to his feet can pop off there and go onto a mini Gargant base.
Fantastic.
This is a Titan Forge model with a Fenris Games tentacle monster and Bad Squiddo portal. And then all the eyeballs and the surrounding eyeball area that's my sculpting handiwork there.
What, those eyes? They look great.
All the eyeballs are my work.
Wow, delicious, man. You like your pinks and purples, don't you? And your sort of hexy green.
Yeah, for this army, because it's kind of weird, nightmarish army, there are certain colours that you can't normally do a full army in, and it wouldn't quite look as cool. But when they're supposed to be kind of weird nightmare monsters with tentacles and eyeballs everywhere, you can get away with a lot more pinks and purples, I think.
Yeah, all my pink paints seem to dry up really fast. You notice that? Certain colours seem to dry up. Yellows, pinks.
So speaking of that, actually, there is a new range of paints coming out. I don't think it's out at the moment from Army Painter that claims to be like the perfect paint for one coat, even yellow, over black. That's what they're claiming.
Have you had a sneak peek at what do they use? Is it like a droplet or is it?
It is a dropper bottle, but apparently they've got a lot of pigment in it, which would normally make it really powdery. But they've had paint scientists working on it. Apparently, they've got it so that it's highly pigmented, but also goes on smooth. So I'm going to test those out at some point when they're released, because that sounds very interesting for people that might like painting yellow but don't like doing 1,000.
I mean, there are many painters which like the droplet style, right? And I had an issue with one of these because it's been that long since I painted that it clogged up. So I squeezed it really hard,
and then
the whole thing,
Yep.
Yeah, so that was not welcome.
You can try storing them upside down, I think, might prevent that. Stops the tops drying up.
Right. Yeah, but they don't stand up upside down.
I don't store mine upside down. I'm just saying I think that's the way of doing it. Then we've got another one of my giants here.
Ooh.
Which has got... You can only see 3 heads here, but it's actually got a 4th, because there's one kind of dangling down from a tentacle between its legs there at the back.
Wow.
And, yeah, more eyeballs, faces in all the wrong places.
Fantastic.
This one is a Dungeons and Lasers giant. Various bits on. I think that's a GW Mega Gargant head on it. Various other things. Then I painted a moose. This
It's
was
like
for
an undead moose.
yeah, it was for a tournament. Often in the Kings of War community in particular, at an event you'll have each player can bring like the special killer moose or bull or chicken or whatever, and here are its rules. Then everyone gets one in their army. You just have to create a model for it.
Nice.
Which is a nice fun little thing. So there's that guy.
Is the game? Did you play that in a game? Has it got a special rule? Like there's a
It will have
moose.
had special rules at that tournament.
I need Stu to say this because he's got the Scottish accent. But there's a moose loose inside this house.
Another giant. This one's got
Wow.
very nice long tentacle arms with a big eyeball going on.
That could be a Kraken eater, couldn't it? That one.
Well, if it was bigger, it could. This one's actually quite small. And moving on, some Dead Zone.
Nice. You like
nice
that one?
Sci-fi dwarves.
Yeah. So is Dead Zone the zombie killing game?
There are zombies in it.
Oh, it's like no, it's not. It's like the Blood Bowl of Mantic,
That's
isn't it?
Dreadball.
Ah,
Dead Zone is kind of like Necromunda sort of scale on cubes.
Nice, man.
So very bright, vibrant sci-fi dwarf action there.
I was looking at some 40k stuff on the GW website, and it's just like, oh my god, the orcs are so good. They got some sick models now. I just don't have the space and time at the minute, man. You know.
Then we've got the mighty Mantic Void Lurker, again for the Night Stalkers.
A Void Lurker. Why would you want to be in a void?
That's where they lurk, and then they pop out to strike.
Ah.
And then they retreat back to the void,
Right.
presumably after the battle. So, it's kind of an experimental paint job. I had no plan when I was painting it. Started and thought, you know what, it looks a bit bland at the moment. Why don't I actually paint a void into the model? So it looks like it's kind of phasing in and out of a void. So tried to paint some space all over it.
Sort of looks a bit like a vulture, doesn't it? Vulture snake. Don't know.
Very weird, but very cool. Then we've got some of the new Atlantic Night Stalker butchers.
So you must have a huge Night Stalker army because you've been adding to it for a while now, right?
Well, I'm looking over at my Kallax unit, and the Night Stalkers do pretty much fill 2 entire cubes. That's 4 shelves.
Wow. Do you like to field as much of your collection as possible, or do you chop and change?
I tend to chop and change it, apart from I try and keep as many of the big, hideous giants in there as possible. Anything that looks the coolest is going to get in there, and then I'll try and build a list around that usually.
Yeah.
Then we've got some of the new Ravagers, which are like butchers, except they shoot from their arms.
Nice. So you could use it as vultures, couldn't you, for ogres, I suppose? Although ogres aren't listed in the old world. Oh, well, I suppose they are. Yeah, as they're a legacy faction in the old world, but they're not going to be like one of the core factions. Well, we can get into that in a minute.
And then endless spells.
Yeah.
So everyone loves a bit of Purple Sun.
Yeah.
Geminids there, which I have actually used at an event.
Yeah.
I think I mostly failed to cast it, so it didn't come up that much.
They go through phases, don't they? The endless spells. I managed to paint all mine, and they go through phases of coolness, don't they? Which one's the trendy
In the rules,
ones?
they certainly do, because there'll be a point, usually when a new edition or a new General's Handbook comes out, and you'll see the endless spell, and you think that one looks a bit cheap and really powerful. Let's put that in the list, and everyone puts it in their list for 6 months, and then they drastically change the points, and then a different one becomes the new cool again.
I mean, for a while, it was like the Gravetide. That was when I last played. It was like the Gravetide thing was the cool one.
Purple Sun isn't quite as ridiculous at the moment.
No, and when they first come out, I think everyone liked the chains, didn't they?
Yes, I think they did have a time. And there was another one when it was the cogs at one point were very powerful. It goes in cycles. So if you have all the standard endless spells painted up, so you're in a position to strike when they become hot.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
More Stormcast.
Jesus. Oh, they look great.
More Dracothian Guard. I think they look much better with no helmets. Would you agree?
Yeah, they just, I mean, it wouldn't be comfortable wearing all that armor, would it? I mean, it's so big on their bodies. I mean,
So,
as a result, I think they should have really low movement, to be honest. Don't you? All that
no,
armor.
I'm not going to go with that at all.
Jesus.
So these ones, the Tempesters with the crossbows, I've started using them recently. I've magnetized all the weapon arms, so I can use 4 of those at a time. They're very good.
Why would you want a crossbow if you're if you're riding on a monstrous cavalry? Aren't they designed to sort of charge in and
They can
fight?
still kill you in close combat. They're just not quite as good at it as the other ones. But when they drop
Well,
down from the sky and they're in range with their crossbows that fire out a bazillion shots each, and the mounts are then blasting their lightning breath at you.
I see.
And then if you want to charge them, and then they unleash hell on you with a bazillion shots as well.
Can you unleash hell with a dragon's breath too?
Sure can.
Wow.
And that doesn't even get -1 to hit because it's just always hits on a 4, that.
So what do they use when they're in melee? Do they just squat
They hit you with the end of their gun, and the beast can still claw at you and bite your head off.
Mm.
So they're pretty good in combat still. So I've been running 6 Dracothian Guard recently. 4 of these ones and then 2 Fulminate.
It's been good?
It has done well, yes.
Nice.
So the last Age of Sigmar event I did, I finished 2nd, but I was pretty much a dice roll away from finishing 1st.
Right.
So that went very well.
Fat Lawyer Slim, welcome, my friend. He says big armor doesn't always mean heavy armor. Also, the Tempesters have exploding hits. Seems fair.
Yeah, every time they score a hit, it actually makes 2 hits. So I don't know why they don't just give them twice as many attacks to simplify it. We need a new Bastion list, do we? I don't know, because lots of the Stormcast points came down, so my usual list had about 150 points shaved off it.
Right.
But Bastion's points did not come down. So I don't know if he's finding his way in at the moment. He might have to be left out for a while. But I can fit a lot more stuff in now.
Right, yeah.
And I may well be running out the Stormcast this weekend at a Halloween-themed tournament, the TSN Arena.
So, Andy, last time I saw you, I got you a Celestin Prime model, didn't I, as a present? Did you manage to paint it yet?
Well, I can actually show you the progress I've made on it. It's over here. There we go. So he's coming along.
We are. Yeah, man. Now, this guy, he sort of appears in the 3rd or 4th round, doesn't he? So he doesn't really stay for long.
Well, most likely you'll bring him down in round 2 or 3, generally.
Uh-huh.
To get in the extra attacks.
Is he quite devastating when he comes down?
He is, because when he comes down, he can just choose to automatically charge and not fail it. Which is nice.
Is there even any point in sort of targeting him or taking him out? Because he's
got a good ward save, but he's not completely invulnerable. He's about as survivable as Bastion, probably. Except Bastion's probably a little bit tougher because he gets all his wounds back if he kills a goblin.
Yeah.
Which is always a treat. Okay, next, got some more Night Stalkers, but these are Titan Forge. They're called like Grave something or other.
Yeah.
But I've put the arms on them from the new Mantic Ravagers. So I've made a unit of those out of them. And I think they fit quite well. The arms don't look weird, do they?
No, they look cool.
So, cool unit there. And now, what's this? It looks like you've been working on some other stuff. Not completed.
Well, I went into my local independent game shop, and they've started to sell 3D printed models. So there's like an independent artist, and they bought loads of these Chaos Dwarves off him, which you can buy. And they're pretty damn good if you like your old school Chaos 1990s Citadel Marauder Chaos Dwarves.
Which, of course, we all do.
Yeah, so he's got like the Hobgoblin Wolf Riders, he's got the Bull Centaurs, he's got the Blunderbusses. So I was looking at them and I was like, oh my god, these are brilliant. But I don't want to start a new army. And the guy just gave me these two, which is really cool of him. So I thought you might be interested to at least see them. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
definitely a Chaos Dwarf fan.
so every week or month, the guy who puts, they give you basically you subscribe, don't they? And they give you codes, and then you can print it out as many as you want. So I think he was charging something like £6 for three, which is like pretty good considering you would pay double, triple that if you wanted a Citadel one. So if you've got half a Chaos Dwarf army and you want to sort of fill it out a bit, these are great. So I might get more of these.
If I had unlimited funds, I would definitely be scouring eBay for an old school Chaos Dwarf army at some point.
Yeah, but are you a purist? Would you want the?
If I had enough money, I could be a purist.
Yeah.
If I did not have unlimited funds, but still wanted to do a Chaos Dwarf army, I would definitely look down the alternative.
Yeah.
I've already got my Abyssal Dwarves from Mantic for Kings of War, so it'd be nice to have Chaos Dwarves as well, which are a slightly different aesthetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've also been building some cavalry by the looks of it.
Yeah, so flipping to detail on these is like next level, man. So I've not painted one yet. I just built them all. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. That's for sure. These are properly like deep, really good miniatures. Like, so when they built these, I was thinking, man, what are they going to do for like the Bretonians when they come out? And of course, we've since seen the reveal, haven't we, of the new Bretonian stuff? But some think it's a bit negative that they're just bringing out just the basic kits from Britannia from before. I've got mixed feelings about it, but yeah, these Cavaliers are flipping wicked. Yeah.
Before we go on to looking at all that stuff, very quickly, here's what I'm working on actively at the moment, because actually surrounding me I've got loads of stuff that's partially painted, but the main thing on the table at the moment are these Abyssal Dwarf grotesques I'm working on. To get a second horde of those ready for maybe for a Kings of War tournament in a week's time, if I can get them ready in time. And that'll allow me to have a faster Dwarf army rather than taking the slow big stone golem I've normally been taking.
Yeah. Nice.
It's going to be interesting. Now, we have got a lot to look at here. We probably won't get a chance to look at everything that's happened over the last 8 months. But where shall we start? Shall we start with some old world?
Yes.
Obviously, this is a topic that's very close to us, being
we
old school Warhammer players.
We might have to start an old world show, right?
Well, who knows? It depends how much attention GW are going to give to the old world. It's still up in the air, and it's hard to tell exactly how much, in terms of future resources, they're going to dedicate to it. They have obviously got some new kits, but old kits as well, and it's been a long time since they first announced it. So, what shall we have a look at?
Well, the funny thing is, Andy, when they first announced it, the first things they showed us was Kislev. So, not really heard much about them since, just maps and hints at model design. But then they come out with Bretonia and Tombkins. But yeah, this was hinted at long ago, wasn't it? With some leaks. But yeah, this is superb model, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely
so
superb.
plastic kit that you've never seen before. This one. This is a totally new one. It definitely looks better than the old Pegasus.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, about all these new models are obviously going to be heavily compared to the old ones. It's not just a question of looking better, because they're obviously going to have superior detail, just overall higher quality. But will they have the same soul and charm is the important thing. How does this one grab you initially, then?
Yeah, love it. Love it. Makes me want to get them.
It seems to fit with the old aesthetic very well to me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't look out of place. If you just went back in time 15 years, stuck that on the table with a Bretonian army. I think it'd fit right in. But it's also up to modern standards in terms of detail quality and all that stuff. So, I like it. Very nice.
Yeah, look at the variations as well.
Also have the standard bearer on Pegasus.
Yeah, terrific.
Very spicy. Can you imagine back in the day, this presumably would have been metal. That would have been those wings.
Oh, yeah, for
Remember
sure.
gluing metal wings onto miniatures back in the day?
Nightmare.
Always a delight. Then we've got Knights of the Realm on foot. Now, foot knights, I remember foot knights being some of the cooler Bretonian models back in the day.
Well, yeah, in the 80s, they'll put out a bunch of sort of paladins on foot. But then in the Bretonian army book, there weren't foot knights there.
In the 90s, the foot knights I always thought looked quite cool. You didn't see a lot of them, but they did exist.
Some people have said online these are too detailed, there's too much going on. So maybe they would prefer the ones with double-handed weapons. Maybe I would too.
And apparently these are, the bits as well for these are going to be compatible with the other kits that are coming back as well. Which is nice. I can see what they mean about the detail, because I think the more detail you add, the more people think Age of Sigmar. If you look at the new Cities of Sigmar army, everyone has got like a weird hat and bits dangling off them left and right. So as soon as you start adding that, people start thinking, it's looking a bit Sigmar for my liking, rather than Old World. I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah,
but I mean, still like these.
They've used a sort of a colour scheme, haven't they? Which in Bretonian, everyone was sort of individualised, at least knights were. So they've gone with the black and red, which looks really cool. Yeah, I love these. I think they're great, and they've got bigger base sizes as well. So anyone who thought they were just going to stick to square bases have had a rude awakening, because they're square, but they need to be bigger now.
Bigger square bases. So what they've even said in a release that you can just get a tray that's the right size and just leave gaps for the bases to slot in there. So you wouldn't have to rebase your old army necessarily. That's what you want to do. Now, an interesting comment here from Mr. Corley, who isn't particularly interested in the old world unless the rules are absolutely brilliant and is sticking with Kings of War. So, for me personally, it's not competition for Kings of War, because I'm always going to play Kings of War. Is it competition for Age of Sigmar? Not really, because it's a totally different kind of game. It would just be its own side thing. For people who can't dedicate time to multiple game systems, I could see where you would have to make a choice. But for me, I think even if the rules are terrible, I would still give it a try. Because it's old world Warhammer, so it's always going to grab people. It's going to have an interest for people, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's going to bring back a lot of people. Not thinking it will be like super, super popular, but I think it will. I think it will enhance GW's offerings and coffers for sure. Bring back some players, and maybe people that are into Age of Sigmar might be intrigued and start collecting an army with these guys. We'll see, eh?
It's safe to say that those of us that have been big fans of the old world and played it for a long time before Sigmar, played a lot of Total War Warhammer as well, kept in touch with the old world, definitely want to give it a try.
Absolutely, and I think because they're bringing back old kits, it's not going to cost GW an absolute fortune. But I love these guys.
Some of the models that are going to be in Forge World resin, I'm sure, are going to be obscenely expensive. If you look at the Lord of the Rings range and the Hobbit range, some of the plastics prices are fine. It's what you'd expect, or even cheaper than what you'd expect in some cases. I think some of the plastic goblin, Lord of the Rings goblins or orcs that are actually quite inexpensive, how many you get. But then you've got things like resin dwarves. You get like 3 in a pack, and it gets a bit expensive, Forge World resin. So we shall see.
Yeah, but the thing is with Forge World stuff, it's super expensive, but then you might look at it as a bit of an investment because the prices just keep going up, don't they? And then when they stop making them, it's I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, do you remember Manon's blades or the Marienburg Landship? I mean, I used to think they were expensive when they were being sold in the shop. I think it was like something like 30 quid for 10 um, foot soldiers with swords and shields. But then I seen a pack on eBay. They went for almost £200.
I can't even imagine trying to buy the Landship now. How much is that on eBay?
Ridiculous, £200-300 at least. And then that is with it being painted really badly.
One thing
Yeah.
GW are doing that might keep prices somewhat in check is they do their occasional made-to-order releases. So people might hold out hope that a model they want to buy that's out of production might come back through that.
Well, there was a statement made by the chairman or the CEO, Kevin Roundtree. He was like, "All our new stuff keeps selling out." So, what do you think about that? I mean, that was a big problem with Warhammer Fantasy back in the day, that it just wasn't getting new players, so they were never really selling out of things. And so they had big backlogs of stuff, but maybe they just do limited releases so they don't have to overprint.
See,
Let's
David
see.
says 150 for Forge World Fulgrim.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you look at the one that really caught me was because I was looking at one point pondering the possibility of doing a Lord of the Rings dwarf army, and
Right.
you've got a chariot. It's pulled by rams, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a chariot, and I'm actually going to look up how much it costs now because I was truly outraged. Let's see. Forge World. Let's see. Iron Hill's chariot, is it? I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Pulling that up now so I can price.
Let's have a look, Andy.
It is £125 for one chariot.
Can we have a look at it?
I will get the old link over here so everyone can see it.
Oh.
Just while I'm fiddling with that, I'm just going to bring up the old screen here somewhere. Yeah, for anyone who's not aware, I've had a new PC since we had the last Andy and Rem show. So a lot of the files that I had in the streaming software are currently not located in the place they should be. So I've had to find a few things again. Technical. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up now. Go through all the yes, I accept cookies, and I'm in the UK screens. And there you go. So, Iron Hill's Chariot, £125.
Can you zoom in? Make it big.
There you go. So obviously it's a spectacular model.
You could use that for a steam tank, couldn't you?
And that is the kind of thing you'd want as a centerpiece of an army. But £125, that's approaching the price that you would want to pay for an army.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's a huge dragon. It's just a chariot.
Yeah.
That's like 3 times the price, probably, that I would think would be fair for a chariot like that.
Wow.
So, very, very expensive, but very nice. So yeah, this is one of the, if I had unlimited funds, would be the kind of thing I'd be spending on, I think.
Yeah, when you look at the raw plastic unpainted, you're like, is that it? Because the base really catches your eye with the painted one, doesn't it? But when you just see what you actually get.
Yeah, so if those are the kind of prices we can expect from the old world, then that could be worrisome. On the other hand, if all the old models are going to be compatible still, then eBay is going to be very busy, and a lot of people have still got model collections in the first place, so you might not actually need to buy that much, depending if your faction is supported, and if whether it's supported or not means whether it's going to be competitive or not. The link. Because we saw when Age of Sigmar launched, some of the factions had rules the same as everyone else at the start, but then over the months and years, they just got neglected. Still, there wasn't really anything worth fielding in the army until they get their big new release with a couple of new heroes. They want to sell them all again.
That's right.
So let's keep looking at these protections then. So some of the classics that are coming back, the old Pegasus Knight. You can immediately see the difference. These ones definitely look a bit goofier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these have become quite difficult to increasingly difficult to find and quite expensive to get. So there's quite a few people that have bought these models for a lot of money. Now they're getting re-released, and I guess they'll be a lot cheaper now. But still, yeah, whatever. I'm really pleased for it. I wonder if people that went into the Ninth Age, that community, are going to come back to the old world. Let's see.
Now, these Knights of the Realm, immediately, even though they're painted in a nice new snazzy way, the detail on the models, you can tell it's not quite the way it is now. There are way less bits of danglage and pouches.
Yeah, yeah.
If that was now, you wouldn't just have a blank shield with an axe painted in the middle of it. You'd have things dangling off the shield.
Yeah,
something adorning the top of the shield. The helmets would be even more elaborate than just having a basic monster on it.
When you look at the sprues that these come on, there's not that many options, compared to what you get now.
Although you did tend to get more posability back in the day, because usually you could tilt the arm to whichever angle you wanted, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, one line of attack is that GW could do upgrade sprues.
Well, if all of these knights are compatible with the new foot knights, so you could put the new heads on them, you could definitely make them look interesting.
That's a great idea.
Old Britannian knights are just classic anyway.
I'm really hoping they bring back the questing knights, because I can't believe I never got them back in the day, because they're beautiful models.
Got your men-at-arms, which they've always been quite cool.
Now, the thing with these and the peasant bowmen is that you're going to need to paint a lot of them, and it gets really, really boring. So you need things to catch the eye, details, bases, shields. They're not really fun to paint, to be fair.
Yeah, with a big unit like that, you want to focus on a banner, really, don't you?
Yeah, or unit fillers. Always a good idea.
Yeah, you don't want to go too crazy painting the 5th rank bowman.
No, you used to get 16 of these in a box. I think in the starter set that they're going to bring out, you're going to get 32 of them, and you're going to get 32 men at arms as well.
I always quite liked, actually, the old single pose bowman that came in the starter set with the lizard men. I don't think single pose are going to cut it nowadays. I liked a lot of those old single pose kits, actually. The Chaos Dwarf, big hat, the Wood Elf Archer with the cloak.
Now, Colin and David have been going crazy in the chat. Colin said the Ninth Age folk are almost as angry as the Warhammer Armies Project players. I don't see them coming back. Wow.
Bum, bum, bum. Well, if they've spent years developing their own twist on Warhammer, and they've got it exactly how they like it, and then they'll look at it as on a whim, for financial reasons, GW have decided to hop back on it, and maybe they do a mishmash of rules from over the years, and it's not that well thought out, because this is GW they're talking about, so they're selling miniatures first and a rule set second.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 9 years, hasn't it, since Warhammer died? Nearly 10.
Yeah, so it's not going to come up to their standards as far as they are concerned, I think.
No, so we'll have to see. I mean, they might be all pensioners by now. Who knows? Those folk. So
it could well be.
I'm getting there myself.
What do you think about the base size increase to 25mm for humanoid infantry? I'm fine with it, because the old models barely fit on 20mm bases anyway, even the ones that were released back then. They were still getting bigger and chunkier. If you look at like your dwarf hammerers, the plastic ones, and the iron drakes, they're totally hanging over that 20mm base.
True. Now here's a quandary, Andrew. Here's a quandary. So goblins would be on used to be on 20 millimeters,
Yes.
and orcs used to be on 25.
Yes.
So if goblins now go to 25, what do orcs do? Do they go to 30 millimeter?
I don't know what the size is for the new, larger infantry base, but the goblins would be on 25s, yes. Which even makes sense for them, because if you look back at the last Warhammer Fantasy goblins that were released on square bases, they were overhanging with their big elbows sticking out, poking each other, and it was a nightmare to rank those up. One of the reasons I like Kings of War, for the diorama basing you can do, is you don't have to worry about ranking up the models, because you just slot them into that spot, and that's where they are permanently on the base, so you can fit them around each other. You don't have to base them all individually and then find a different spot for them to go that way.
Now,
Just
do you
build
think
it as is.
it's going to be beneficial to Kings of War that GW are bringing this back, or negative?
I don't think it's really going to make a huge difference, because the Kings of War community,
Has it grown since the old world died?
Yes. Kings of War is a decent sized community. Obviously, it's nowhere near any of the GW systems, but there's enough to sustain it. And could a few of them be tempted over to the old world and ditch Kings of War? Possibly, but on the other hand, some people could be introduced to square-based, like rank and flank warfare from GW that they haven't seen in nearly a decade, and maybe that could encourage them to expand out into other similar-looking game systems like Kings of War.
Yeah,
It could work both ways.
Fidercast says lots of players are coming in from Total War community as well, so we'll see. I mean, have they been a bit just too late for that?
Yes.
The zenith of Total War was probably between Total War 2 and Total War 3.
Even when Total War 1 came out, what year was that? Was that like 2015-ish?
Yeah, 40, yeah, something like that.
So we're approaching a decade when you would think they should have been right there, especially they established the old world was going to blow up. Then they make this deal. I don't know exactly what order these things were done in, whether they decided it was going to blow up and then they made a game deal for the world that was blowing up. But then once they saw how successful those games were and how good quality they were compared to some of the garbage that you've seen. If you look on Steam, you type in Warhammer, there's 200 games there, 99% of which are complete garbage. This was actually good. It's got a good built-in Total War community with it. You can build an audience there quite easily. And GW have held off on releasing this. It's not like they couldn't have done this sooner. There's not that many new sculpts in there. They could have done this years ago and capitalised more on the current popularity of Total War. I'm not sure why they didn't exactly. I'm not sure what's so special about early next year, their release time.
Well, isn't it some anniversary of what is it, a 30th anniversary?
I don't think they would have been specifically waiting for that though.
Or 40th anniversary Warhammer, something like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Either way, it is weird timing, but I think Total War Warhammer 3 is still quite popular. I don't know if you looked at the popularity peak of Total War Warhammer. I don't know where the spike would be exactly in the chart, but I'm sure it's not at its absolute peak now, because even 3 has been out for quite a while now.
I put it this way: Warhammer Total War 2. When the Wood Elves come out, and I was playing them, it made me want to get the Twilight Sisters on Dragon. It made me want to get the Warhawk Riders, and they're really hard to find. And it would have made sense to have them available again because, that's just a shame, isn't it? We'll see what happens, right? We'll see.
Well, Mr. Corley thinks the only reason they announced it was because Kings of War 3rd Edition was being released. And
wow.
I don't understand why, because I'm sure they don't look at Mantic as any kind of competition to them. GW is a massive international financial billion-pound juggernaut, isn't it, compared to Mantic? It's
always had threats. I mean, what 10 years ago, or maybe slightly longer than that, the biggest threat was that skirmish game. What's it called? Quite a few Warhammer players went over to that
War Machine.
Yeah, War Machine, and
even that I don't think was ever really a threat. Or if any of these things are a threat, I don't think GW perceive them as a threat.
Yeah,
I don't think in their meetings they
The
have
thing
up on the
is,
whiteboard must compete with this
thing
Mantic
is,
announcement.
GW have got 40k, which is since that come out, that's took over, hasn't it? So that's their biggest IP, I think. You know,
It would be a kind of weird, petty move if they saw that Kings of War 3rd Edition was about to come out and someone said, hey, can we announce that we're doing the old world just to squash that a little bit? And someone goes, yeah, go on, and just clicks the button. Because it's very
maybe.
little effort to announce a game system that you're not doing for another 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, but it could be also when the maybe some kind of licensing runs out with Total War. I don't know. I don't know. Interesting though. I'm glad it's coming back. You know, it's
It's
more
definitely
choice.
interesting, though it makes the world a lot more an interesting place.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
here's a miniature that's had some wild debate around it. So, Handmaiden of the Lady. Now, a few people have said to me, this model is clearly been sculpted to stand upright, and then at the last minute, they've decided to put a tilt on it. Because if you look at the flow of the fabric and everything, it's not like dangling and dragging in the direction that she's leaning.
Oh, it's a very graceful model.
It
It
is,
would have
but you
been
see what I'm
nice.
saying? It looks like it was
Yeah, yeah,
sculpted
yeah,
to
yeah.
stand upright.
Is she meant to be floating then?
I assume, yes.
I think it would have been nice to have some kind of water feature in it, especially with the Lady of the Lake coming out of the water. That would have been kind of cool.
You would think there could be more danglage going on for her
Yeah,
floating. Like this little chain dangling around the spear. You would expect that to be kind of dangling more downwards rather than wrapped around it, perhaps.
I think it's a pro painter's dream model, isn't it? Because you can do so much with her dress and the cloak in terms of like patterns, details, paisley, whatever you want. But yeah, so maybe some more dangling things coming down, maybe. I don't know. Or something coming out of her right hand. That would look cool, wouldn't it? Like some kind of water or flame magic spell coming out of there. Would look really cool.
Definitely cool. And we've got some of these heroes that we had seen prior to this article.
Yeah, love them. Love them. Especially the Foot Knight.
But no, people said he looked a bit chubby, but I don't really see an issue there.
What if he's chubby?
Exactly.
Why do people have to have like Marvel superhero bodies all the time?
Sure, in medieval times, all the knights weren't going to be there with their
Ah,
chiseled muscles.
yeah, it's more about stamina, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, because if you look at like bodybuilders versus like power lifters, those sort of physiques, he's got more of like a power lifter physique, hasn't he?
Yeah, as they would wielding double-handed swords. Now, field trebuchet, loving the fact that's come back. This is one I really like.
This is the one that worried me actually, because this is coming back in Forge World resin, and that's when I went over and had another look at the Lord of the Rings stuff and saw, that chariot is comparable in size to this trebuchet, and it's £125. How much is this thing going to be?
I'm going to say 50.
I think it'll be more than 50.
All right,
I
well,
don't
we'll
think
see.
it'll be 125, but I think it'll be more than 50 in Forge World resin. It's quite a big piece of kit, this. I think they'll try and squeeze as much as they can out of it. Let's have an audience prediction, actually. How much is this Forge World resin field trebuchet going to cost? Mr. Remington's saying £50. I'm saying higher than 50.
I'm going to say 55 because I don't think it will be a round number. It's gonna.
I think it'll still be higher than that. I don't think it'll approach 100.
Colin Max is 100. I mean, these
I
go
don't think
for
it'll be
around.
100,
I
but
mean,
more than 55.
on eBay you can get these from between 45 and 60, 70, depending on metal or resin. Don't know.
Yeah, so anyone in the audience, get your guesses in now of how much this is going to cost. Then
But this and the questing knights I definitely want. Although I think there was a hint that they're going to put out some more. specialist units as well. So we've got Grail Knights, Questing Knights, hopefully yet to come.
Well, let's look at the Bretonnians.
Back in the day, there was a Bretonnian Bombard.
Bretonnian Bombard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
right, we got to push on, Andy.
we certainly have. There's something that, let's see, something that you told me you think is terrible. So we've got to look at that. So Stormcast Eternals, Ionis Cryptborn, who is the original Lord Relictor from the starter box, which I still use in my army. Now I've been put on a dragon in a kind of an unusual, twisty sort of pose, and you're not a fan.
No, when I first saw it, I thought, is this an undead model? Is it like some sort of skeleton undead guy, necromancer on a dragon, undead dragon? And it was like, no, this is Stormcast. I'm like, what?
First off, why do Stormcast have the monopoly on dragons? I think that's silly.
Yeah.
I don't think they need more.
Dark Oath would be fantastic on dragons because it's like animalistic, it's beast, nature, sort of topless, savage barbarians riding beasts. But Stormcast are metal. They're forged humans, superhumans with forged metal. They shouldn't have synergy with nature and beasts. That's what I have an issue with. So why do they have the monopoly on dragons?
What I would have liked, actually, is when they released the Stormdrake Guard, if they just gave you some different torsos in there, so you could have, like, a Lord Relictor on a dragon, one of the options, rather than having a whole new kit when someone else could have just had a new dragon kit instead. But obviously the Stormcast are the poster boys, so they're going to keep getting all the attention.
If you're riding such a beast, you need to be quite nimble, be able to turn your body, and a full suit of armor is just daft.
Even though they've already got 100 war scrolls, they need more, apparently. While the likes of the Fire Slayers, although, saying that, Fire Slayers, there is evidence of baby Magmadroths now.
Yeah.
But I think is it just a war band? We've just got one.
But
they've established they exist, so if they want to do baby Magmadroth cavalry or something, they certainly can. And that's the kind of thing they haven't done for the various factions over the years, like your Caradron Overlords as well. Had their release, and then since then they've just had a drip of foot heroes. While Stormcast get new, crazy stuff like this every year, seemingly.
Well, they must be popular, I guess. They must be, otherwise they wouldn't do it.
They must be, but are they popular because they get all these releases? And would the other factions then jump up in popularity if they got something wild like this? I'm sure the shareholders would look at them and say, why have you just released this big new kit for the Fire Slayers when they don't sell as much as the Stormcast? I say, oh yes, you are correct, shareholders. Let us go back to the drawing board and fix that issue.
Well, I don't think GW listen to shareholders,
sure they listen to major shareholders.
I don't think so. I think shareholders are generally super happy because they've done so well over the last 10 years. I mean, the shares have gone up by like 1,000%.
But they've got to, maybe not directly to the shareholder, but whoever is directly responsible for making the shareholders happy by maximising profits sees the plan for the next year that doesn't contain enough Stormcast and Space Marines. Says, what's going on here? This isn't how we maximise our shareholder dividends.
It's all about Space Marines, isn't it? They've just took the Space Marine template and put it into fantasy.
Exactly. So it's just going to be more and more and more. And then the other factions will just be lucky to be along for the ride.
Yeah. So there you go. Dragons belong to Stormcast, apparently. Crazy.
Sure do. They even get new monstrous rampage. So, very quick look at the GW website, because there's obviously so much stuff that's gone on in the last 8 months, we can't possibly deal with all of it now. If we get back to doing more regular shows, which would be nice, then we can have kind of a theme for each episode and just touch on one topic rather than trying to dive in and look at absolutely everything. So if there's anything you specifically think we should talk about, then let us know. Obviously, at some point, we're going to look at all the other ranges of miniatures, not just GW as well. Mantic have had a lot of fantasy releases recently, including their new evil elves. So I'd be interested to get Mr. Remington's take on those at some point.
What? More evil elves? Say that again.
Like dark elves, the Twilight Kin, the Kings of War.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So they're quite interesting.
Nice,
those at some point.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to look at and ponder on, because like I was saying with the Fire Slayers, the war bands that they bring out for your war cries and underworlds are usually a glimpse into what's coming in the future, or what could come in the future.
Yeah.
So we'll have a look at those at some point as well. And hopefully we'll get some games in. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Mr. Remington?
I'd love that. Yeah, so many models, so little time. Jesus. Right.
Well,
we're running out of time now, man.
Let's leave you with this picture of Mr. Remington in front of the second largest audience he's ever had after the initial few episodes of the Andy and Rem show, which of course hit in the hundreds of thousands, as you may recall. You don't need to go back and check those videos. You can just take my word for it. Such a spectacular hit back in the day when Age of Sigmar was first announced. And thanks to everyone for joining us on episode 201, only 8 months after episode 200. I can guarantee it won't be another 8 months until the next episode.
No, it won't be that long.
Hopefully we'll start flying into these regularly and
well,
keeping our finger on the pulse.
I might need to join you from the hotel room on tour. I suppose I could do that on my phone. I've got a decent phone, couldn't I?
You certainly could. It wouldn't be like you to have any technical difficulty.
It just have to be
about that. Now, everyone, don't forget, I'm going to have to get Mr. Remington to get back into the Discord server regularly as well, because I haven't seen him in there lately. So I need to give him a nudge now and then. So don't forget to join the Discord server, the Facebook group. There's Twitter and all that good stuff in the video description. Also, don't forget to donate all your life savings to this channel so that the content can continue to flow in your direction. Mostly just paying for my tournament tickets. Be nice. People want to just donate all their life savings for that. And yeah, Mr. Remington, would you like to play us out?
What? You've done it again. You're surprising me, Andy.
Well, you can just come up with a nice song on the fly, something that promises that we're going to be back sooner than 8 months and that the content is coming. Okay. Here we go.
I better plug the guitar in, wouldn't I? That would help.
Right. Got my finger over the audio slider, so we're not going to deafen people's instrument.
Has it been so long? How could we have been wrong? That the old world is coming back again. But Andy and Rem, we've always been around to bring the smile back on your faces with some interesting chat and a vampire bat to keep you going along and to help me write this song. Has it been so long? It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a night or day. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. Yeah, we've been talking about Age of Sigmar and yeah, everything else that is cool. We're talking about the old world. Is it easy to learn the rules? We don't know yet, but we'll find out soon. Thanks for turning up.
Good afternoon out there, whatever you are.